Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Marvin Jenkins, and I'm the coordinator for the Women's Business Center for Maryland Capital Enterprises. We are a nonprofit organization. We assist women entrepreneurs who are either starting a new business or expanding their existing business. We service the Eastern Shore of Maryland, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County. And we offer a lot of the educational programs, workshops like the one you're on today. And we offer one-on-one counseling, consulting. We offer help with business plans, cash flow projections, and we also have a loan assistance program. So, and we just one other thing, we do have an office both in Salisbury, Maryland, and in Baltimore. So, reach out to us if you need any of our services, and we'd be glad to help you. Today's workshop is the MBE, DBE, SBE part 2 of the webinar from last week. And I'm going to turn it over to Rosalind. We appreciate everything she does for us. She's the expert in this field. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Rosalind, and appreciate your doing it for us.
All right. Thank you, Marvin, for that introduction. So everyone, I am Rosalind Davis. I am the president and CEO of Rhoda Business Solutions. I would kindly ask, if you haven't already, please mute yourself so that there's no distractions or disruptions during the presentation, but feel free to raise your hand or put a question or something in the chat. But if you could just mute yourself. I am going to go off camera because I don't want you to focus on me. And if I move around, I want you to focus on the slides. So with that, I'm going to stop my camera. And we're going to get started. So again, everyone, this is part 2 of the Maryland Department of Transportation's Minority Business Enterprise, Small Business Enterprise, Disadvantaged Enterprise, and also the Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Certification Workshop. Rhoda Business Solutions is a management consulting firm that we specialize in program and project lifecycle management. We also specialize in business process improvement, strategic engagements, business administration, and logistics operations support services, and workforce management. We are a certified woman, veteran, and minority-owned small business. We're located here in the Washington, D.C. metro area. Before I get started, I want to thank the Maryland Capital Enterprise, the Women Business Center for providing this training platform to allow this certification workshop to take place. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. And then my disclaimer, the screenshots that you will see in today's presentation are actually screen captures from MDOT certification online application. However, the views and opinions expressed during this webinar are my views and in no way the views and opinions of the government or any other entity. Now, before we get started into the presentation, I would recommend, if you have not already done so, in the top right corner of your Zoom screen, you might want to switch to the standard view so that you can enhance your visibility of some of the screenshots. Thank you. So here is part 2. So part 1, what we covered was questions that are asked during the certification part, certification application. Part 2, we're going to focus on those documents that support your answers that were given in part 1 of the training session, or it will be part of your certification application. So I'm going to briefly touch on what was covered in part 1, but this one will definitely cover just part 2. One thing I also always want to remind everyone that there is no cost to apply for MDOT certifications. So if you get someone who wants to charge you money to do your application, you might want to think twice, because essentially you will be gathering all this information, answers to the questions and documentations, and handing it over to a third party who's just going to upload that information for you. So it is time consuming. But if you take your time and with these training workshops, you'll be able to do it yourself. So the certification, it's a 4-step process. Step 1 is the application submission. And then from there, there's an investigation to include an on-site or a virtual visit and an interview. For my certification, they actually did a virtual visit, but prior to that, I had to send them pictures of what the office looks like, receipts that I've actually paid for things that represented the business. And then step 3 is an evaluation to see if you meet the eligibility requirements. And then the final step is the determination. This is where you'll get your decision letter, whether you've been approved or denied certification. This whole process used to take about 3 to 4 months, but I hear today it's probably taking upwards of about 6 months to get a decision. So you do have to be patient and allow that time, especially if you're looking at a specific opportunity that you want to pursue and you need that certification. So on this screen, we're going to cover sections 1 through 4 of the application. This is the sections and documentation. Section 1 is your basic name, phone, email type of information. And then section 1, where it says prior, this is where you determine which certification you were applying for. In section 2, this is your business profile. This is where you enter your North American Industry Classification Codes, or your NAICS codes, number and type of employees, and your gross business receipts. Your gross business receipts will be a mandatory documentation, and we'll get into that. And then section 2, continue relationships. This is relationships that you have ownership in another business or subsidiary, etc. Moving down the line, section 3, your owner information. This is the year you owned and percentage of your business. And then how did you acquire the business? And then how much did you invest in your business? And you will have to complete a personal net worth statement. And I will get into more detail about that personal net worth statement because it also has to be certified. And in section 4, it's the officers and your board of directors. You can list yourself as the officer and the board of directors in both positions. So don't feel as though if you're a company of one that you can't fill in both of those sections. Section 4 continues with the management personnel. Here they're looking for your duties and responsibilities. You will have to upload resumes as proof of documentation that you have resumes for your personnel that you list. And section 4 continues with inventory. So they're looking for business equipment and vehicles, office space that you perhaps is leasing. Section 4, financial information. This is your banking information for your business, any sources of loans. This is going to be very critical that whatever information you put here, that it matches your personal net worth statement as far as your types of loans that you may have in other financial transactions. And then the final section, licenses and contracts. They're actually looking for plumbers and electricians, not necessarily a project management certification. They're looking for trades. And then they want to know about your 3 largest contracts. They'll ask you the question in that we covered in section part 1, but here's where you actually provide documentation to upload those 3 largest contracts. Now, here's the good thing. If you're familiar with the System for Award Management, SAM.gov on the federal side, on Maryland side, you can complete any of these steps, section 1 through 4, in any order that you would like. So you can skip around and complete sections at your leisure. Airport concession, or the ACDBE. This is a section that's right after the section 4, those ones that we just covered. This section has 5 mandatory questions. So let's review those questions. Excuse me. So here are the questions for the ACDBE certification. You would review each question and then respond accordingly, and then hit the submit to move on to the required documents section. This is where you'll spend most of your time gathering documentation for your application. The last question on this slide that you'll see, it relates to joint ventures. You will need to upload any joint venture agreements in the documentation section if that applies to your company. So now let's get into the required documents. So based on your company structure, such as a sole proprietorship, LLC, partnership, or corporation, you want to download and review the applicable checklist. I highly recommend that you do that before you get started into actually answering questions and uploading documents. Kind of make sure that you have everything that you need before you get started, because your application will time out and it will be deleted if you have not completed it. And it will tell you what your date is to have the application completed. It's typically around 90 days to get all the information in so that they can start reviewing your application. So on this screen is a list of common documentation that you will need regardless of certification. So whether you're applying for MBE, DBE, SBE, or the airport concession, this is a common documentation that you will need. Now, you'll also notice that there are 2 documents that must be notarized. The first one is your affidavit of certification. It wants to verify, this form will verify that you are a DBE or MBE company. And then the next one is your personal net worth statement. It has to be notarized. Now, if you are certified in your home state as a DBE or ACDBE, you do not have to complete this application for other states. You can ask your state uniform certification program manager about the interstate certification process. So just kind of keep that in mind, that if you also have a business located in perhaps the neighboring state, that you won't have to complete a certification application for each state that you want to do business with. Now, your state business registration document. This is your articles of incorporation, your articles of formation. This could also be registering with your state, showing that you have proof of receipt. And then also your resume. You will need to upload a copy of your resume for all the officers within your company. If you recall from part 1, or if you missed part 1, you need to make sure that there is specific language, such as you manage the daily roles and responsibilities for the company. You want to make sure that that information is in your resume, because they are specifically looking for that language to make sure that you run your company, or there's other officers as well that run the company. Proof of citizenship, you will need to upload that. So that could be a passport, a current passport, and your personal net worth statement. I'm going to go into a lot of detail on the personal net worth statement, because that's very important, because this is where you will provide the documentation when you answer the question as far as what your personal net worth is. If you recall from part 1, they asked for just the dollar value. And you have to make sure that that dollar value that you entered on the questions earlier in the application matches what's on the personal net worth statement that you get notarized. And then they're also going to ask for 3 to 5 years of your personal federal tax returns and 5 years of your business federal tax returns. Now, here's the key. If those are not applicable because you just started your business, let's just say this year, then you would still need to upload, let's say, a blank Word document. And on that document, I would recommend that you put your application number, the name of your company, And then, for instance, you could say 2023 does not apply because your business just started in 2024. But you will need to do that for each year that does not apply. It needs to be separate documents because you will need to upload them individually within the portal. And then they also want 3 years of year-end financial statements. These do not have to be from a certified public accountant. These could be spreadsheets, but they will ask for year-end financial statements, such as your profit and loss. And then you're going to need a bank signature authorization form or letter. They want to make sure that you have a business bank account and it's on letterhead or a signature form with your company name on it and who's authorized to sign checks for your company. And then your vehicle title or registration and insurance information if you use it for business. For instance, if you have your personal vehicle, but you also use it to go to networking events and things like that, it will need you to upload your title and or registration and proof of insurance. And then licenses and contracts. Again, the licenses that they're referring to are trade licenses, such as plumbing and electrician. In the contracts, they'll be looking for your largest 3 contracts. And now, one thing when you do this application, it's all electronic. You have to submit all your documents via their online application portal. They do mention fax, but they don't take fax anymore. It all has to be online. Now, before I move into the document list for mandatory documents, are there any questions? Okay. So here is a list of mandatory documents. Now, at the top of the list are the 2 that must be notarized before you can upload them into the portal. You want to click on the link to download those, print them, and get them signed in front of a notary after you complete them. Now I'm going to discuss these documents in more detail. So the affidavit of certification, DB, again, it must be notarized. You have to fill in your information. You have to fill in your socioeconomic category, and then sign and date this in front of a notary, and then upload this into the portal. Personal net worth statement. So a key point of data on this form is your net worth. It must match down here where it says net worth and I circled and I just put $1. This number must match the question that was asked earlier on in the application. In this section 3 of majority owners information, you want to make sure that you double check your math because these numbers does not automatically add to total assets, nor do these add to your total liabilities and give you your net worth. You will need to manually calculate this information. And then don't forget that this form must be notarized and then uploaded into the portal. Are there any questions on the personal net worth? Now, for your personal net worth, the limit for eligibility under the MBE program is about $2 million for the year. And this cap is reviewed and adjusted annually, and they just did a review and adjusted it at the beginning of this year. For the DBE and airport concession programs, the cap is 2.047. And both of these changes was a result of the Department of Transportation aimed at increasing inclusivity and flexibility within the certification process. So just keep that in mind that both of those have been increased as far as your personal net worth for 2024. Now, your personal net worth for the DBE program is not affected. It is still at 1.32 million. Another mandatory document is your business and personal taxes. And the reason why I put this big red X on here is because they actually want your signature. So if you e-file and you don't have a hard copy signature on your taxes, print that page out here that I put on the form 1040, if that applies to you, and you actually have to put a wet signature on there and then upload that into the portal. They do not want the e-file copy. They want a signature. Proof of good standing. Your annual filings that are due no later than the 15th April of each year. And the cost is about $40. You're going to pay an expedited fee. There's no way to get around it. The certificate will be available for immediate download if everything checks out and you're in good standing with the state of Maryland. The most common reasons that a business is not in good standing, you could be missing your annual report or your personal property tax return. If you forgot to file that information, that could be a reason why you're not in good standing. There could be a monetary penalty resulting from late filings of your annual report or your tax return, but you can pay that on the business online profile to bring your business up to good standing. There could also be an issue with the Maryland Office of Comptroller or Department of Labor, or a check or other form of payment that was dishonored, or not having an active resident agent. You could easily submit a resolution to change a resident agent online using Maryland Business Express. And you can be your own active resident agent. You don't have to have a third party. Now, this is what a proof of good standing certificate looks like after you pay the $40 fee. You're going to, again, automatically receive the certificate for download if your company is in good standing. And this is what you would upload into the certification portal. Proof of citizenship, here's a list of some acceptable documentation. So your passport, does not expire, birth certificate, driver's license, does not expire, permanent resident card, naturalization certificate, or another form of government issued ID. The bank authorization form and signature card must have, again, the bank name, your business name, and the name of the person or persons that are authorized to sign checks. That is very important that that information be listed on that memo that you get from your bank or that authorization card. Another mandatory document is proof of contributions. So here's some examples of documents that you can upload as proof that you have contributed to your business, such as when you registered with the state of Maryland. It's like a $300 fee, so you can provide that state business registration receipt. You can also provide that good standing certificate because, again, it costs you $40. Domain name receipt. So if you paid a domain name company for your company name, you can upload that receipt. And then if you have an accounting system for your business, you can upload that, and or your EIN, which is your employer identification number that you get from the IRS letter as proof of contribution for your business. Now, the resumes for each personnel listed in Section 4. Section 4 asks you for control management of personnel. Again, you want to use that language that you see listed in that section where it says you set policy and direction, you make the purchasing decisions, and you supervise field operations. It is very important that those three things be listed in your resume because they're looking for that particular language. And then you also want to make sure that your North American Industry Classification Code, your NAICS code, that you list in your resume, that you actually show within your resume that you have that type of experience, because they will ask you, where did you get that experience? How long have you been an expert in that particular field? Now, Year-end financial statements. Again, these do not have to be CPA generated. It could be an Excel spreadsheet that you have generated yourself, but they want your balance sheet. They want profit and loss statement. And then if you have any audited financial statements, depending on how long you've been in business, they want that as well uploaded. Articles of organization. So these are your Maryland articles of organization. So you're going to upload a copy that you received when you initially registered your business. And then for the operating agreement, I would say Google a template. Don't pay LegalZoom or some other company out there to draft you an operating agreement. Find you one, a template out on Google, and then change the name and adjust it accordingly to your business. Now, here are some typical paragraphs that you would typically see in an operating agreement. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just some common paragraphs that you need to have in your operating agreement. For instance, you need to have your name and your principal place of business, your company purpose, the management who runs your company. You need to talk about your books, your records, and your tax returns. For instance, how are your books managed? What type of records do you maintain for your business? And then tax return information. And then talk about what will happen during dissolution or liquidation of your business. So make sure that at a minimum, you address these particular items. Profit sharing agreement. So for the purpose of this training, let's pretend you don't have profit sharing agreement, but here's a sample of the information that you can enter into a Word document and then upload it. So again, your company name, your principal place of business, put your application number on there. And if profit sharing agreement doesn't apply, just say NA, sign and date it, and then upload it. So again, for anything that does not apply to your business and it's a mandatory document, you can't leave it blank. You have to upload a document. And the best way is to upload a Word document per se, put your company name on there, put your application number on there, and just put a brief explanation as to why that particular document does not apply to your company, sign, date it, and upload it to the portal. Now, before we move into the, if applicable, list of documents, are there any questions? Okay. So this is if applicable. So these are not mandatory. These are only if they apply to your business. So these are optional documents. So you want to first look at the entire list and then check the box that does not apply to your company. So it says marked as not applicable. So check the ones that don't apply to your company. And what will happen is when you click that lock-in button right here, the system will mark those documents as NA instead of not attached, as you see over here on the right side of the screen. And so when you refresh your screen, you'll see that you now have certain documents that only apply to your company that you need to upload. Any questions on the if applicable documents? Okay. So for instance, you would need to have your licenses, license renewal forms, and permits if those apply to your company. So again, it's trades, it's your plumbing, electrician type of license, and any renewal forms. And then if you have to have permits for your business, such as childcare or anything. And then you also need to have your quarterly state unemployment tax wage reports. So if you have employees on payroll, you will need to upload those quarterly tax reports. And then if you have applied for certification and you have been denied or you have been decertified, you'll need to upload that information as well. So inventory, this screen shows the questions and answers that were covered during part 1, but these are listed in section 4, control. on the application. But this is where you will now upload the applicable documents to support those questions that you answered in section 4. For equipment and vehicle inventory, do not include your POVs as vehicles. It's actually looking for company vehicles, such as something that bears your company name, maybe a tow truck or something, maybe a box car or something. And then enter the purchase, office space, or lease agreement, if that applies. And storage space, for example, if you have a storage warehouse for your company, you would enter that information here. And then the copy of your last 3 contracts. If you recall in session 1, but also under section 4, control, license, and contract, this is where you're going to upload those particular contracts that you have identified earlier on in your application. Now, if you have a trust, upload that information if that applies. If you don't have a business plan at this time, I would recommend that you check the box in A. But if you do upload a business plan, you want to make sure that it matches the information in your application, such as your org structure, your management team, your NAICS code. Because it's not a mandatory document, my recommendation, again, my disclaimer is these are the views and opinion of myself. Because it's not mandatory, I would not upload it because it's more scrutiny and that's more documents for them to review and perhaps deny your application if things don't match up. Now, if you have board meetings, you want to upload those minutes. They're not referring to staff meetings, but board of director meetings is what they're referring to. And if you have joint venture agreements for your ACDBE applicants, you want to upload those joint venture agreements. And then some other supporting documentations that it lists here. After you submit your application, you should probably expect some follow-on questions. Don't be alarmed. These are just questions to complete the application. For example, I had a follow-on questions specifically to what services were offered by my firm and what was my role in there. And then again, where did I get that experience from? And so it was just a question that they had emailed me. I answered it, and that cleared that query. But what I did is I completed it on a separate Word document, put my application number, the business name, and then I signed and dated it, and then uploaded that into the document section. So after you've answered all the questions in your application and you uploaded all the documents, you are now ready to sign and submit your application. So once you refresh your screen, you can see here that all the check marks are green, and it is now ready for receipt and processing. So this is just a visual reminder to show you that you have completed all the section when you see all green. And keep in mind, this is now taking probably upwards of 6 months for them to review and render a decision on your application. Now, before we get into some key takeaways and conclusions, I'm going to pause there and see if there's any questions.
Nothing in the chat.
All right. So I just want to reiterate, and I can't foot stomp this enough, that this application is free. It is time consuming to collect all that documentation and answer those questions, but it is a free application. And I want to make sure that you understand that they have the uniform certification application available. So you don't have to apply for each certification separately. You can apply for all 3 or 4 as it applied to your business at one time. It's a 4-step application review process. Make sure you answer all the required information and documents that are listed in the application, and they will be indicated by red. And then you want to make sure that your personal net worth that was in section 4 under majority owner information. It just asks for a dollar figure there, but you want to make sure that that dollar figure matches what you put on your personal net worth form that is notarized. And then I would highly recommend that you retain a copy of your completed application. Store it somewhere on your computer where you can readily access it in case there are follow-on questions. And I would recommend that if you are a new business, for instance, if you started this year, this is the best time to apply for certification. It's best to have the certification when you need it versus you need it and you don't have it. But also you have less documentation to complete. For instance, you don't have that 3 to 5 years of tax returns. And if you still need one-on-one coaching after this workshop, you can get with the Maryland Capital Enterprise Women Business Center, and they can assist you with how do you sign up for one-on-one coaching. Thank you for your attention today. This is my contact information. Again, I am Rosalind Davis, the President and CEO of Rhoda Business Solution. If you have any questions, I will take them now.
Everybody's quiet.
I know. Well, that's good. Hopefully everything has been covered. Again, like Marvin stated, the recording will be shared. Part 1 is also on their website as well. So if you missed part 1 and you need to go back and review it, it's there.
Anybody have any questions? Now's the time.
No, but this
All right.
is very informative.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, again, Rosalind, amazing job. A lot of valuable information, good information, detailed, a lot of details.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, everyone, have a great day and enjoy your rest of the week. And if you're in the Maryland area, stay cool and hydrated.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you.